Hi guys, this is Picker10 and welcome to your 16th Roblox Lua scripting tutorial. Now, in the last tutorial I posted a contest who will be able to research and actually use custom indexes in their tables. Now, it's not actually called custom indexes, so it'll probably be very difficult to actually research it, because googling custom indexes in Lua on googling custom indexes in Lua wouldn't have returned any useful results. In fact, you'd have just looked at a tables page and it probably would have come up with it. On the Roblox wiki, it wouldn't have been much help anyway, because Roblox covers Roblox specific elements of Lua and not just Lua in general, which is what tables are. Now, unfortunately, we need to use these to progress in our tutorials. So before we're going to start the cool tutorial where we're going to do some cool stuff, we're actually going to go through these custom indexes, which will probably be boring as well, but stick with this, you'll learn from it. It's going to be very quick. But this is also going to mean we're not going to have time for the scripting showcase. And before I actually go on from this, if you've got this far with the tutorials, you're really good. You've stuck with it. As I've noticed, the beginning tutorials, probably before the tables tutorials, have had a lot more views than the tables ones. That's probably because I was late and the tables tutorials were very boring and scripty, crappy stuff that people find very boring when they're learning, but they're so incredibly useful. You can't do any good scripts without them, especially not games. If you want to make a cool place, you need to learn the tables. If you're watching this tutorial because I said it was, and you skip the tables tutorials, go back and watch them if you want to actually make anything. You need it. So now we're going to go on to the tutorial. Now we're going to go through the custom indexes, or that's as I call them, basically just changing the indexes. Instead of being numerical, well, instead of using numbers as the indexes as we have before, if you don't know that, and then I'll just go through it again, we're going to actually be using our own indexes as for the tables. Now, I'm going to just use this new script, delete what's already in there, and then we're just going to go ahead and create a table as we do normally. And if you can't remember, just create a table. It's just that you should be practicing. If you can't remember how to insert, what can be inserted in the tables? Anything, numbers, strings, booleans, they're just true or false, anything basically. But so for now, we're just gonna use this. Now, as you may remember, indexes that we've used before have always been numbers. So the index of this would be 1. The index of this would be 2. The index of this would be 3. The index of this would be 4, and so on. But what if we don't want that? What if we've got a win again in our game? If we've just used the insert function to insert a table to store the winner and the loser, or to insert items in a table to show the winner and the loser of a game. What if we could just tell the script the first one's always going to be the winner, the second one's always going to be the loser? But we don't want that. That's not very good practice. And although this isn't actually key, it's very useful and can in some situations make things a lot easier. So we're going to make the winner and loser actually have the index as the winner and loser. So the index of this is 1. The index of this is 2, the index of this is 3, the index of this is 4. So we're going to change 1, 2, 3, 4 to winner and loser. But actually I'm going to delete all these in tables because we need to put the correct winner. The winner will obviously be Picker10. How could you think any different? And now the loser will be the guy I just faced in the Dark Heart Elite tournament. There you go. It's a bit long and, well, I actually lost, but whatever. The guy who I just faced is still a loser. So we're going to make the index of that one a winner, and we're going to make the index of this one a loser. So to access Picker10 at the moment, as you probably be aware, you type tab, put in this bracket, what's his index? 1. That's Picker10. That's the first item in the table, which is this. So we want this. We want the index of this to be winner. So we're going to use tab, and then there's several ways we could do this. We could do winner equals there. That's easy. Which is exactly the same as winner in square brackets equals. So we could do it either of those ways, but there's no point in putting square brackets just for the sake of it. It's just another way you can do it. There's no real point in doing it. Winner equals pick a 10. There we go. So now to access pick a 10 in the table, we would need to do tab winner. And the same here. I'm just going to put loser equals this guy. As usual in Lua, because a lot of people get confused with this for some reason, you can put there, you can do that, you can do that, you don't need to put spaces, you don't need to not put spaces. It's just personal preference. Makes your code look neat if you do, probably, but I don't care. So that would now be pick a 10 because the winner. But there's also another way you can write this, because, well, this you can read it, obviously, but just generally slightly more easier. It's called syntactical, I can never say that word, but anyway, syntactical sugar. Oh well, don't care if I say it wrong. Syntactical sugar basically means it looks nicer. There you go. You can also do it like that, which is how all of, say, if remember in Roblox objects, to access the properties, you just do script.parent, for example. That's to access the properties, script.name. They're not actually tables, they're something called user datas in Roblox. So if it says user data, it usually means some object. Now, user datas are basically, well, for the purposes of this, they're tables. They're exactly the same. They're not exactly the same, but for the purpose of this, they act in mostly the same way as tables. In any case, if script was a table and name was an item in the table, just as I've done name equals pick a 10, or with a capital S in name, if I did now tab.name, it would be pick a 10. Well, if I remember to put an equal signs here. But we're going to stick with winner equals pick a 10. So now I'm just going to print the winner is pick. Actually, I'm not going to do that because I might put a tab. The winner is ... and I need to put a space there. Pick a 10. The loser is loser. What the hell am I doing? Now, if you haven't guessed this, you should. I've had a long day. It's actually tab.winner and tab.loser. Hopefully you would have picked up on that. What on earth was I doing then? The winner is tab.winner, the loser is tab.loser. That's how you'd access the winner, that's how you access the loser. You could remember also do tab winner, just like that, and you could do the same with the loser, but it's generally easier just to do this. I'm going to press play on the script. The winner is pick a 10, the loser is the guy just faced in the Dark Cart Elite tournament with about 1 million typos in it. So, oops, I put the script in the camera. Move, there you go. So that's the custom, well, I call it custom indexes, it's not called that. Don't say anyone it's called custom indexes, because it's not. It's just something I use to explain it to you. That's how you use indexes, and now we're going to get onto the cool stuff. Yay! And I'm just going to create the new place of the cool thing. Right, so the cool thing we're going to be making with tables is our very own admin command script. Yes, we're going to be making our own admin command script. Now, in this tutorial, we won't get past the basics, probably, just making it do something when you say anything, but for now, we're going to be covering the tables aspect of it. So, the first thing we want is for the script to know who the admins are. So, we're going to make a table that stores everyone who's an admin. Admins equals them. So then you can have as many. You don't have to do just one admin. You could just do, oh, we've got one admin. Admin is PK10. But then we wouldn't be able to add in any more admins, would we? So we're going to be needing to create a table. So admins. I'll just name admins just to be safe. Admins equals PK10. Mr. Bruno, not you, and so on. So now, once we've created our table, I'm just going to go on to create a script, or create a function even, that will tell the script whenever a function is called with an argument passed whether someone is an admin or not. Now this is actually I'm not going to create that script now, because I'll make that script when we actually need it, so I can explain it to you better. So now the most obvious thing to do will be to actually it may not be that obvious. How do you think you detect when someone has chatted? Now, if you've done some research, there's an event called chatted in every player, and that event detects whenever someone's chatted. So to get the player, we can't just do game.players.admin. We can't just do that. We're going to need to, every time a player joins the game, we're going to need to set up the chatted event on that player. But to detect when a player joins the game, we're also going to need to do another event which connects whenever a player joins the game. So I'm going to use some nested functions for this, now, or anonymous functions as you may know them. Now, have I explained these? No, I haven't. So I'm not going to use anonymous functions for these. I may have explained it to one or two of you, but I don't think I've actually explained it. However, I'm just going to go on and use it the normal way. So we're going to create the function player added. I'm just going to name it player added for simplicity. Doesn't have to be called that. You must remember it has to be called that. I'm just going to name this player. I'm just going to name it a new player. I'll stick the end in so I don't forget it. Then we're going to tab the script. So now we've got player added, new player. We need to make it so that when the player joins the game, it checks whether the player is an admin. So if new player name is an admin. Now, how would you think we would do this? How would we be able to check whether the player is an admin? You can't do if new player.name equals admins, because admins is a table. If you remember, if we tried to print a table before, it just comes up with something in the output saying table colon 0 and then it has loads of random numbers. So, as I explained before, we're going to need to create a function that actually detects whether a player is an admin. So I'm going to create a function now. Function is player admin name. Now, you may be wondering, why can't I just do this in this script? Why can't I just detect whether the player's admin in the script? The truth is you can. There just might be another time in the script, and it is better practice because this is a separate part. There might be another time in the script where you also need to check whether a player is an admin, or you also need to, or if you need to use a certain piece of code more than once, it's unless it's like one line long, and then it's generally best to create a function. Or even if it is one line long, sometimes it still is best to create a function. We could just use the code in this function and say if player.name is admins1, or if player.name is admins2, or if player.name is admins3, then it would work fine. But then what if we have more? So we could just do a loop and say if player1 is Pickerton, or if it's Mr. Bruno, or if it's not you, and keep going to the max size of the table using the maximum operator we used before, which is the hash symbol, which would be an awful lot of faff, very complicated, very confusing, and no one would understand a word what I'm saying. It's just messy. So instead we're going to create a function that can do it for us without all of that messy stuff, and if we need to use it more than once, we can just say the name of the function again. So we're going to need to loop through the function. Now, I've put this argument here, name. Now, as you may have guessed, when a script calls this function, I'm going to make it so the thing in the brackets is going to be the name of the player. It doesn't have to be called name. Remember, it could be called to name, or with a lot of typos. It could be anything. I'm just going to name it name because it's simpler. If you can't remember how to do this, I suggest going back to the functions tutorial, function arguments this is. So I'm going to loop through the table first, And in the process of looping through the table, each time it loops, I'm going to check whether name is equals to this one. If it is, I'm going to return true. If it isn't, I'm not going to return anything, and if it still isn't, I'm going to return false. So this is what I'm going to do. I'll show you and then explain it to you. Actually, that doesn't usually show. For IV in pairs, do. We'll first need to put the name of the table in the brackets. Tab it again. If name equals v then. So basically, if the name which is the name that's passed into the arguments from the script, which I'll show you visually in a second after we actually call it. If you can remember arguments, good, because then you'd know what this means already. If you can't remember, go back to that tutorial now, because you're going to need it a lot in this tutorial, or in any tutorials. Basically, the ones that you're going to need the most for most things, other than the really basic ones: function, arguments, and tables. They're the ones that you really need, or just function. Anything to do with functions and then tables. If name is v, and v, as you may remember from the, or as you should remember this from the tables tutorial, is whatever the table. So the first time it would be this one, the second time it would be Mr. and then the third time it would be not underscore u, and then return true. Now what this return true does is it ends the function first. As soon as it says return true, nothing else happens in the function. It completely stops and goes on with the rest of the script. But this also means that if we called this function just by saying isPlayerAdmin, and then if the thing we passed as name, if this got run, this return true, then the function would actually be true. Now this should be all clear to you. You may need to pay attention, go back to the function tutorials again. The function tutorials for returning, because returning is a very, very vital concept for scripting. Now, if name is v, then return true. End that, and return false. Now you may be wondering why I've said return false at the end. So if I didn't return anything, and then it's going to be nil, so it's fine anyway. But I'm just return false because I want it to be true and false. So that's not actually necessary at all. But what you also may be wondering is, so what's going to happen? It's going to return true and it's going to return false. What? It's not. Because remember, as soon as the name is matched up with the item in the table, so i.e. if the name is an admin, and then the script's going to end immediately after this line. It's going to end completely. Oop. Got someone calling me on Skype. Right, I'm back now. Sorry about that. And so the script's going to end immediately once this runs. So this won't actually be run if this is run. But if it isn't run, so basically if name doesn't equal any of the items in that table, and then it's going to return false. That's not actually necessary. So should I remove it? I'm just going to remove it for simplicity's sake. So instead of being false, it's going to be nothing. If that doesn't return, it's going to be nothing. And nothing Lua, as you probably know, is nil. So it's going to basically be nil. So now, if you can guess this line, and then you're a genius. Actually, not a genius, you should have been able to do this anyway, but for this sake, I'll tell you you're a genius, just to make you happy. If is player admin new player dot name, then that's the line. That's the line you need. So I'll just go through what this function does. If is player admin new player dot name, this would run the is player admin function, which is this function. So it's going to run this. then this in the brackets is going to become, well no, this is going to become this. So name in that function when it's being run is going to be new player.name. So name is now new player.name. For IV in pairs admins do, it's going to loop through. So the first one is name, which is new player.name, as you remember. It's going to be name, which is that name, which is this name, new player.name. So if the new player.name is V, which is going to be the item in the table it's looping through, if new player.name is V, and then it's going to return true. If it returns true, then this will be true. As you remember, if statements check whether the thing inside them is true. So if this returns true, then the if statement will run. But however, if it doesn't return true, so if it loops through every one of the items in the table and new player.name does not equal V each time, or does not equal V, which would be the item in the table, and then it's not going to return anything. So not going to return anything is nil, and nil is not true. Now by true meaning anything that's not nil or nil, false. So it doesn't actually have to physically be true, it just could be, if return 1 would also work, because 1 is true. 1 is not nil or false. Return 1. So this now checks whether the person is an admin. So if it's player admin, new player.name, and then we need to set up the chatted event. Now, I'm not going to have time for that in this tutorial, I don't think. I'm just going to check the time. 23 minutes. No, I'm not going to have time for that in this tutorial. So I'm just going to comment that. Set up chatted event. End. There we go. It's going to put else print player is not admin. End. So that's all for now in this tutorial. In the next tutorial we're going to be continuing with this admin command script. Make sure that you remember to send in your, I've received loads, I'm sorry if I haven't got to yours, but because I've had to cancel scripting showcase twice. Don't forget you can submit your models to the scripting showcase. And scripting your if you submit them, it will be featured in my set. You'll get, if you're Builders Club, you get a prize bonus of 200 Robux if you make something good enough. Because there's no contest this week, so I'm giving you 200 Robux. So basically, it's a really good thing to do. It'll be shown in the tutorials. You'll be famous, and you won't be famous, but you'll be slightly more richer with 200 Robux. So thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. And I'll see you in the next tutorial. Hey, this video is on time as well.